Hey guys, Foxdrop here with a video on why you can't climb in League of Legends. Now obviously the art of climbing is a lot more complicated than I could cover in a video like this, but hopefully you can identify with some of the points that I make and it might help you. Either way, I hope you're having a fantastic day, but I won't waste any more of your time and we'll jump right on into it. The first reason why you can't climb is because you play stuff that you can't play. Champion pools in League of Legends and how they relate to your ability to win games in ranked is vastly overstated. People often think that the reason they're not climbing is because they're not playing the right champion. And the only reason that will be true is if you adapt your champion pool to move away from your comfort picks and into things that you think would work better for you. And specifically what I mean by that is, say you enjoy playing like Jack's jungle, but you see that Peanut has a 70% win rate on Lee Sin in Korean Challenger, and on top of that, he doesn't even play Jack's jungle. Therefore, you completely wipe out Jack's jungle from your champion pool and you try and play Lee Sin. The only problem with this is that you are not Peanut. The only things that you need to worry about when choosing your champion pool is what you enjoy playing, what you feel like you're good at playing, and also, if in doubt, what's simple. Don't worry about what other people are doing, don't worry about what the professional players are doing. Just stick to your game, you'll be much better off. The second reason why you can't climb is because you believe that the core principle of winning League of Legends revolves around fighting other players. Now, fighting other players, killing other players is most certainly a great way to be getting advantages when you're playing League. But there are a whole host of other strategies that will help you win games that don't involve fighting, and oftentimes they're the superior strategy to just fighting. And this is why you'll often find, especially in lower elo, if you fall behind, you stay behind. Because if your go-to strategy is to fight the enemy team, you don't really know what to do when fighting becomes a bad idea. You still try and fight, and things go tits up. Now in a video like this, I obviously can't go into extreme depth about League of Legends macro, but just start by trying to put some higher value on the objectives in the game. Try and think a bit more about towers, a bit more about the dragons, about the Rift Herald and Baron. I suggest watching some of my full gameplays if you want a better understanding of this kind of stuff though. The third reason why you can't climb is because you don't ping enough. This one may sound kind of weird, like it's not really anything to do with your gameplay or your skill as a player, but considering the only pure form of communication in League of Legends right now is typing in chat, that's not really something that you can do with speed or that will grab the attention of your teammates in the thick of the action. It also means that you put less pressure on your teammates to have to use their brains. And considering it's solo queue where the players have an average awareness of a hibernating potato, pinging means that you can kind of be the eyes for your teammates. So if you're roaming or ganking, spam that on your way ping. If you see the enemy jungler walking into a lane setting up a gank of his own, spam the danger ping. If you want to take a Baron or a dragon or some other kind of objective, spam the help me ping. You get the idea. It's a really small change that could make quite a big difference to your game. But before we move on to the fourth point, guys, I just want to say if you are enjoying the video, don't forget to hit your thumbs up and you can subscribe to me for more videos just like this one. But enough shameless self-promotion. The fourth reason why you can't climb is because you care way too much about what your allies are up to. I understand that sometimes it feels like solo queue is as if you're a guardian in an oil-filled nursery accompanied by a bunch of toddlers with lighters, but ultimately the actions of your allies are outside of your control. And all you need to focus on is what you're doing, how you're playing. Sometimes people struggle to really grasp this point that I'm trying to make here because they argue that, you know, it's a 5v5 team game, therefore you've got to rely on your teammates quite a lot. And whereas in the small scope of a single game that is undeniably true, if you look at it from the bigger picture, it starts to change a little bit. Because we all know these randoms can make you lose a game and that really sucks. But over the course of multiple games, if there are 4 randoms on your team and 5 randoms on the enemy team, that will then mean that there's a higher chance that you get a random geezer losing the game for you on the enemy team than on your team. Unless, of course, you're part of the problem. Which brings me back to the initial point. You don't need to care about what your teammates do because ultimately, you're the only one you need to worry about. The fifth point, which is somewhat similar to the one we just mentioned, you care way too much about what your allies are saying. Essentially, you let your teammates tilt you way too much. I've already mentioned that the best philosophy for climbing is to focus on yourself. This one's more just about not giving a toss about what your random allies may or may not be saying to you. I mean, yeah, it can be really disheartening if you're being blamed for something that you feel like isn't your fault. Hell, it can be really disheartening if you're being blamed for something that even is your fault. I mean, it doesn't feel good to have your mistakes pointed out to you. But ultimately, it's the internet. There's anonymity, and you're gonna find a fair few dickheads along the way. If you let these comments get to you, then you're just gonna get really, really frustrated and you're gonna play it 10 times worse And on top of that as well, you're going to take that frustration into your next game, so it won't even influence just that one game you're in. It'll influence your future games as well. Chances are you're never going to see these guys in solo queue ever again anyway, so you really don't need to care what they're saying to you. So try your best to not let it get to you when these people are flaming you, but if you find that you struggle with that, just mute them. For some reason, people are really against using the mute function. But if someone's annoying you, just slap that mute on them. No worries. The sixth reason why you can't climb is because you don't stick to one champion. Now this can be for various reasons, right? Either you don't enjoy just playing a few amount of champions, maybe you feel like the champion pool that you have selected isn't cutting it, so you keep trying new things. Either way, the fact of the matter is the fewer champions that you play, the easier it is for you to climb in solo queue. Because if you want to be giving yourself the best chance of winning in solo queue, you want to be playing a champion that you know the ins and outs of. But that's not just referring to the champion itself, it also refers to how that champion interacts with other champions, specifically with things like your matchups. You have to be disciplined, guys. Too many times when people ask me to take a look at their OPGG because they're stuck and they can't climb, I'll see that their champion pool is all over the place. If you want to climb, you have to stick to as few champions as you can. The next reason why you can't climb is because you play to win and not to learn. Ultimately, in the grand scheme of things, the way that you climb, the way that you consistently get a higher ranking in League of Legends is if you become a better player. I know that's a really obvious statement, but most people seem to forget that premise when it comes to playing solo queue. They treat every single game as an opportunity to gain some elo, not as an opportunity to learn and improve. Now, I've talked a bunch about this kind of thing on my channel in general, but there's so many reasons why playing to improve is vastly superior to just playing to win. The great thing about this is that not only does it make you a better player, but you also stop caring as much about losing games. So that helps tremendously with your overall mentality. It means that you tilt a lot less, and it means that you care much less about making mistakes, because ultimately, mistakes are a good thing because you learn a lot from them. It sounds really weird to say, but the less you care about your elo, the more elo you'll get. Another reason why you can't climb the solo queue ladder is because you don't dodge enough games. For some absolutely peculiar reason, a lot of times when I suggest dodging to people, they get really funky about it. It's almost as though people think that dodging is as bad as like going AFK in a game or something. Like if you know in Champion Select that you're just not gonna have a good time in that game, like if you've got someone who's threatening to troll, threatening to go AFK, or you've got people flaming each other in the chat already, like you know that that game's not gonna be fun to play. Even if you win, it's most likely going to be a struggle and emotionally tax the crap out of you. If you find yourself set up for a game that you just don't want to play, don't play it. Not only will playing the game just drain you emotionally, but if you lose it, which there's probably quite a high chance that you will, you'll lose even more LP than if you just dodged in the first place. Honestly, there's really not much more to say about it. If you find yourself in a game you don't want to play, don't play it. The penultimate point of this video, guys, and the 9th reason of why you can't climb is because you have bad habits that you don't want to break. Now, of course, it would be impossible for me to tell you specifically what your bad habits are. As you know, understandably, they're quite unique to each player. But if I were to try to describe them in like a blanket, broad statement, I would say it's the lazy stuff that you do that you know you probably shouldn't. Like I say, I can't describe what those would be for you specifically, but for me, something that I know is definitely holding me back is that I'm really lazy when it comes to timing summoner spells. Especially since I'm a jungle main, I should do this like all the time, because if someone's got their flash down, I know they're a much easier gank. But I just don't do it. I don't really know why I don't do it. It's just because I'm lazy. It's a bad habit that I should force myself to break. Especially because I know if I were playing more around summoner spells, I would be a better player. But yeah, chances are, you know what I'm talking about. And for the final point of this video, the 10th reason why you can't climb is because you don't know how to translate your early game leads to mid and late game success. Now, detailing how to translate early game success into something that works in the mid and late game is something that I could spend like a whole video going over. Again, I would suggest that you watch some of my full gameplays if you want to see me kind of explaining what I'm doing during a game, and that might cover it. You know, if you see a game where I get ahead in the early game, I might talk about this kind of thing. At the same time, I'm just a boosted diamond player, so chance of me getting ahead at any stage of the game is pretty slim. But in all seriousness, guys, if I could just boil it down to like one specific point that I would suggest that you work on, it would be aggression. If you find yourself ahead in the early game, put vision down so you know you're not going to get ganked or something like that, and then just play as aggressive as you can while staying safe. Because if you have that advantage, you really want to make sure that you're making the enemy team feel that advantage of yours. If you're just sitting back, you're playing passively, maybe you're farming a bit too much, then you may as well not be ahead at all because you're not pressuring the enemy team. And that just about does it for this video, boys and girls. I hope you enjoyed it. Let me know what you think about it down below in the comments if you have any suggestions for future video topics, or maybe if there's something that you think could have been on this list. But like I say, thank you so much for watching. I hope you have a great, amazing, wonderful day, and I will see you in my next video.